Welcome back, secondary 2 students of El Farouk Language School. Today we are going to complete our work with the Merchant of Venice, Act 1. In Act 1, Part E, we have seen how Antonio, the Merchant of Venice, a very wealthy merchant actually, was talking about his sadness to his friend Salerio and Solanio, who believe that his heavy investments at sea must have caused him worry. When he says that doesn't bother him at all, since his wealth isn't invested in just one ship, they suggested that he for sure is sad because he is in love, a concept which he refused again or he denied. At this point comes in Bassanio, his friend, and cheered him up a little. But he started to talk about his problem. What problem did Bassanio talk with Antonio about, and why did he actually came to Antonio? Think about this while we are reading this part, okay, to see what is the main purpose and how the relationship, how can we describe the relationship between Antonio and Pisanio. And I want you to think also about how Antonio is going to react towards the request Pisanio is going to ask him. Okay, let us read and see.
What was all that about?
Graziano speaks a lot about nothing, more than any man in Venice. His reasons are like two small seeds hidden in a pile of rubbish. You can look for them all day, but when you find them, you realize that the search was a waste of time.
Well, tell me now, who's the lady that you're planning to visit in secret? You promised to tell me about her today.
You must know, Antonio, that my lifestyle costs more than I can afford. In my young life, I've been careless, and I'm a prisoner of my debts. To you, Antonio, I owe the most in money and in love. So I have a duty to share with you my plans to clear my debts.
Good Bassanio, tell me, if the plans are as good as the man who makes them, I'll help you as much as I can.
In my school days, if I threw a ball and lost it, I'd throw another in the same direction. When I did that, I often found both balls next to each other. I'm telling you this story because my situation now is very similar. I owe you a lot, but like a selfish child, I've lost everything that I owe. Please, throw another ball in the same direction as the first. If you do, I have no doubt that I'll be able to repay all my debts.
You know me well, but spend too much time on these unimportant details. I prefer you to waste all my money.
Okay, in this page, as we can see, Sanyo came to Antonio to tell him about the woman he wants to marry. But in order to marry, he told him, this woman, he told him a story that happens when he was a child, which says, if I threw a ball and lost it, I threw another in the same direction. Very important words said by Bassanio. What do you think this means? What does this sentence tell us about Bassanio? Okay, and how can we describe the friendship between Antonio and Bassanio? Okay, think of this, and we are going to discuss it later. Let us move.
Offend me with your doubts. Tell me what you want, and it will be done. I'm ready, so speak.
In Belmont, there's a lady who's been left a great fortune. She's beautiful, and more important, a woman of wonderful character. Sometimes I receive lovely wordless messages from her eyes. Her name's Portia, and she's famous all around the world. From many countries, lords and princes come to ask her to marry them. Oh, Antonio, if I had the money that they have, I'd be successful without a doubt.
You know that all my fortune is at sea. I have no money at this moment, and nothing to sell. But see what my good name can bring you in Venice. Borrow as much as you can. It will pay for your journey to Belmont, to lovely Portia.
Okay, as we can see here that Antonio is offering Pisanio all the help he could do or he could afford in order to let him marry the woman he wants to. Pisanio actually came to Antonio and told him the story of the ball in order to make him give him money, in order to lend him money again and again and again. So what do you think about this kind of relationship? Okay, do you agree with Pisanio? Do you agree on Antonio? What does this tell you about the two characters? Okay, now we are going to move to scene 2, where we are going to meet Portia and Nercia. Okay, let us see how does Portia think and how does Nercia answers her. And we are going to compare the relationship between Antonio and Pisanio with the relationship between Portia and Nercia. Okay, and I want you to compare also how did scene 1 in Act 1 started with the sadness of Antonio, and how is scene 2 is going to start. And let's compare the two scenes. Let's go.
Scene 2. Belmont. A large bedroom in Portia's house. There are large open windows with a view of a big sunlit garden. Marissa, my little body is so tired of this great world.
That would be true, sweet madam, if your problems were as great as your good fortune. It seems to me that people with too much are as sick as people who have too little. I'm happy, therefore, to be seated in the middle. Too much money turns the hair white too soon. People with a little less live longer.
Those are good sentences and well said.
My advice would be better if it were taken.
If actions were as easy as words, poor men's homes would be princes' palaces. It's easier to teach than to follow your own advice. The brain may give us wise advice, but its voice is not as loud as our emotions. But thoughts like these won't help me choose a husband, if choose is the right word. I can't choose who I like, or refuse who I dislike. That's what happens when a living daughter must obey the wishes of her dead father. Don't you agree, Marissa, that it's a difficult situation for me?
Your father was a good man, and good men at their death have good intentions. He planned this test, these 3 boxes of gold, silver and lead, for a reason. Your future husband must be able to guess your father's intentions. He may need luck to choose correctly, but if he understands your father's meaning, he'll truly deserve your love. But what warmth is there in your heart for the princely men who have already come?
Tell me their names, and I'll give you their description.
First, there's the Prince from Naples.
Oh, he only talks about his horses. He's very proud of his ability to shoe them himself. I wouldn't be surprised if his mother's lover earned his living making horseshoes.
Then there's Lord Palatine.
He never smiles. If he's so sad and serious now, what will he be like when he's old?
Okay. We have seen how Portia and Nerissa is talking about the problem Portia is having, which is choosing a husband according to the will of her father. Her father has died, has passed away, and left a will that she must marry the man who's going to pass the test. The test is 3 boxes of gold, silver, and lead, and the proposal has to choose the right box in order to win the marriage with Portia. And this actually doesn't make Portia happy. She doesn't like this. She doesn't approve on her father's decision, and Nerissa is trying to calm her down. Let us complete. So before completing, actually, we want to compare that. So scene 1 started with the sadness of Antonio, and here scene 2 started with the sadness of Portia. Of course, we have different reasons. First scene, or in scene 1, Antonio doesn't know the reason of his sadness, but Portia is certain, and she knows actually why she is sad, and she knows her reason. And she actually has good judgment. We can see her also judging her proposals, the princess and the wealthy men who came to propose to her. She has an eye, a critical eye, as we can say. Let's complete.
I'd rather marry a dead man than either of these. God defend me from these two.
What do you think of the French lord, Monsieur Le Bon?
He has a better horse than the prince from Naples, and a more serious face than Lord Palatine. He changes his behaviour according to the situation. He's a shadow of a man with no character of his own. If I married him, I'd marry 20 different husbands. If he hated me, I'd forgive him. But if he loved me madly, I could never satisfy him.
And what about Falconbridge, the young lord from England?
I can't understand him, and he can't understand me. I have little English, and he can't speak Latin, French, or Italian. He's a handsome gentleman, but what can you say to a man who can't speak? And what strange clothes he wears. I think he bought his shirt in Italy, his shoes in France, his hat in Germany, and his behaviour from everywhere.
What's your opinion of the Scottish lord, his friend?
He's a very generous man. The Englishman hit him, and he promised to repay him when he had the chance.
How do you like the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew?
I hate him in the morning, but I hate him even more in the afternoon when he's drunk. At his best, he's not much worse than human. At his worst, he's not much better than an animal. If he was the last man alive in the world, I'd still run away from him.
What would you do if you decided to choose a box and he chose the right one? If you refused to accept him, you would disobey your father's wishes.
If you put a large glass of German wine on the wrong box, I'm sure he'd choose that. I'd do anything, Nerissa, not to marry a man with more wine in his body than blood.
You needn't worry about any of these lords, my lady. They've told me their plans. Unless you decide to choose your husband in another way, they've all decided to return home.
Even if I live to be 100 years old, I'll die unmarried unless somebody chooses the right box. But I'm glad this group of admirers are so thoughtful. I'm grateful for their absence, but I wish them a safe journey.
Do you remember, my lady, in your father's time, a young man from Venice, a student and a soldier?
Yes, his name was...
Okay, as we can see, Portia has a point of view in every proposal who came to propose to her, and they were trying to choose the right box. And at the end, they decided if Portia weren't to change the way she's going to marry or the way she's going to choose her husband, so they are going to leave. And this satisfied Portia actually, because she disliked all of them. Let's move. Okay, sorry. True, madam, he was, in my foolish opinion, the man who most deserved a beautiful lady. So Nursia here agrees that Pisanio is the one who deserves Portia as a wife. I remember him well, and your good opinion of him. Yes, what news? Your guests, madam, are waiting to say goodbye. There's also a messenger from the Prince of Morocco, who says that the prince will be here tonight. If I could welcome the next visitor as happily as I say goodbye to the last, I'd be glad of his arrival. So here Portia is saying that she's not happy for receiving other men to ask her to marry her. So she's not happy for this. Come, Nursia, while we shut the gate on one admirer, another knocks at the door. Okay, this is for Act 1, Scene 2. Until I meet you in Scene 3, I hope you will enjoy this video, which will help you to understand the part we have studied so far. Let's go. Thank you very much.
I know not why I am so sad. It wearies me. You say it wearies you, but how I caught it, found it, or came by it, what stuff 'tis made of, whereof 'tis born, I am to learn. And such a want with sadness makes of me. I have much ado to know myself.
Your mind is tossing on the ocean. There were your argosies with portly sail, like signors and rich burghers on the flood, or as it were the pageants of the sea, do overpeer the petty traffickers that curtsy to them, do them reverence as they fly by them with their woven wings.
But believe me, sir, had I such a venture forth, the better part of my affections would be with my hopes abroad.
I thank my fortunes for it. My ventures are not in one bottom trusted, nor to one place. Nor is my whole estate upon the fortune of this present year. Therefore my merchandise makes me not sad.
Why then, you are in love.
Oh, fine. Fine.
Not enough neither. Then let us say you are sad because you are not married. And 'twas easy for you to laugh and leap and say you are merry because you are not sad. Saleria, welcome hither. Here comes Bassanio, your noble kinsman, Graziano and Lorenzo. Fare you well, we leave you now with better company.
Good morrow, my good lords.
Good signors both, when shall we laugh? Say when. You grow exceeding strange, must it be so?
We'll make our leisures to attend on yours.
My Lord Bassanio, since you have found Antonio, we too will leave you. But at dinner time, I pray you have in mind where we must meet.
I will not fail you.
You look not well, Signor Antonio. You have too much respect upon the world. They lose it that do buy it with much care.
I hold the world but as the world, Graziano, a stage where every man must play a part, and mine a sad one.
Let me play the fool. With mirth and laughter let old wrinkles come, and let my liver rather heat with wine than my heart cool with mortifying groans. Why should a man whose blood is warm within sit like his grandsire, cut in alabaster, sleep when he wakes, and creep into the jaundice by being peevish? I tell thee what, Antonio, I love thee, and 'tis my love that speaks. There are a sort of men whose visages do cream and mantle like a standing pond, and do a wilful stillness entertain, with purpose to be dressed in an opinion of wisdom, gravity, profound conceit, as who should say, I am Sir Oracle, and when I ope my lips, let no dog bark. Oh, my Antonio, I do know of these, that therefore only are reputed wise for saying nothing, when I am very sure, if they should speak, would almost damn those ears which hearing them would call their brothers fools. I'll tell thee more of this another time, but fish not with this melancholy bait, for this fool gudgeon, this opinion. Come, good Lorenzo, fare you well a while. I'll end my exhortation after dinner. Huh?
Vacciano speaks an infinite deal of nothing, more than any man in all Venice.
Well, tell me now, what lady is the same to whom you swore a secret pilgrimage that you today promised to tell me of?
'Tis not unknown to you, Antonio, how much I've disabled mine estate, by something showing a more swelling port than my faint means would grant continuance. To you, Antonio, I owe the most. In money and in love, and from your love, I have a warranty to unburthen all my plots and purposes, how to get clear of all the debts I owe.
I pray you, good Bassanio, let me know it. And if it stand, as you yourself still do, within the eye of honour, be assured my purse, my person, my extremest means lie all unlocked to your occasions.
In my school days, when I had lost one shaft, I shot his fellow of the self-same flight, the self-same way, with more advised watch, to find the other fourth, and by adventuring both, I oft found both. I owe you much, and like a wilful youth, that which I owe is lost. But if you please, to shoot another arrow that self-way which you did shoot the first, I do not doubt as I will watch the aim, or to find both, or bring your latter hazard back again, and thankfully rest better for the first.
You know me well, and herein spend but time to wind about my love with circumstance. And out of doubt you do me now more wrong in making question of my uttermost than if you had made waste of all I had. Then do but say to me what I should do, that in your knowledge may by me be done, and I am pressed unto it. Therefore speak.
In Belmont is a lady richly left, and she is fair, and fairer than that word of wondrous virtues. Sometimes from her eyes I did receive fair, speechless messages. Her name is Portia. Nothing undervalued to Cato's daughter, Brutus Portia. Nor is the wide world ignorant of her worth, for the four winds blow in from every coast renowned its suitors come in quest of her. Oh, my Antonio, had I but the means to hold a rival place with one of them, I have a mind presages me such thrift that I would question as be fortunate.
Thou knowest that all my fortunes are at sea. Therefore go forth, try what my credit can in Venice do, that should be racked even to the uttermost, to furnish thee to Belmont, to fair Portia. Go presently inquire, and so will I where money is, and I no question make to have it in my trust, or for my sake. Truth, Nerissa, my little body is aweary of this great world.
You would be, sweet madam, if your miseries were in the same abundance as your good fortunes are. And yet, for aught I see, they are as sick that surfeit with too much as they that starve with nothing.
Good sentences and well pronounced.
They would be better if well followed.
If to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches and poor men's cottages princes' palaces. I can easier teach 20 what were good to be done than be one of the 20 to follow mine own teaching. But this reasoning is not in the fashion to choose me a husband. Oh me, the word choose. I may neither choose who I would nor refuse who I dislike. So is the will of a living daughter,
curbed by the will of a dead father. Is it not hard, Nerissa, that I cannot choose one or refuse none?
Your father was ever virtuous, and holy men at their death have good inspirations. Therefore the lottery that he hath devised, in the 3 chests of gold, silver, and lead, whereof who chooses his meaning chooses you, will no doubt never be chosen by any rightly, but one who you shall rightly love. But what warmth is there in your affection towards any of these princely suitors that are already come?
I pray thee, overname them. And as thou namest them, I will describe them, and according to my description, level at my affection.
First, there is the Neapolitan prince.
Aye, that's a colt indeed, for he doth nothing but talk of his horse, and he makes it a great appropriation to his own good parts that he can shoe him himself.
Then is there the County Palatine.
He doth nothing but frown, as who should say, you will not have me, choose.
How like you the young German, the Duke of Saxony's nephew?
Very vilely in the morning when he is sober, and most vilely in the afternoon when he is drunk. In truth, I know it is a sin to be a mocker, but he. When he's best, he's a little worse than a man, and when he's worst, he's little better than a beast. I will do anything, Nerissa, ere I will be married to a sponge.
You need not fear, lady, the having any of these lords. They have acquainted me with their determinations, which is indeed to return to their home, and to trouble you with no more suit.
I'm glad this parcel of wooers is so reasonable, for there's not one among them but I dote on his very absence, and I pray God grant them a fair departure.
Do you not remember, lady, in your father's time, a Venetian, a scholar and a soldier, that came hither in the company of the Marquis of Montferrat?
Yes, it was Bassanio, as I think so was he called.
True, madam. He, of all the men that ever my foolish eyes looked upon, was the best deserving a fair lady.
I remember him well, and I remember him worthy of thy praise. How now, what news?
The strangers seek for you, madam, to take their leave, and there is a forerunner come from the Prince of Morocco, who brings word the prince's master will be here tonight.
Come, Nerissa, Sarah, go before. While we shut the gate upon one wooer, another knocks at the door.